Yeah, where are you?
I'm in Middlesbrough. I'm in the van outside the venue. Spend most of my life sat right here in this seat, in this van.
I know
I'd say 80% of my adult life.
it's like you form a band for. Well, I think people form a band for loads of reasons, but you form a band because one of the reasons is that you think you're gonna see the world and have adventures, and really a lot of it is just ginsters, pasties, and sitting in vans.
Yeah, I formed a band because I thought it'd make girls fancy me, and it absolutely didn't work.
Is
So
is that
it's
not?
it's literally just the pasties.
I mean, I don't want to be too critical of relationships. I'm a married man, but sometimes all you need is a ginsters pasty.
I'm a very simple man, and although I'm a certain age now, I've reached the age where I really struggle with anything pastry. Like last night at the gig in Leeds, I had to get someone in the audience to throw me a rennie because at the Brudenell Social Club in Leeds, the catering is Pie Minister. Surely it's Pie Minister, not Pie Minster. But anyway, it was this bloody lovely pie, and I had it, and it was fantastic. But then literally all night I was suffering for it. So I had to have an emergency rennie thrown to me from the back of the audience.
Oh, mate, they're the kind of fans you want. Recently, I've had loads of acid reflux. I feel like I hit that age. I think there's an age where acid reflux becomes a problem, and every time my wife goes to the shop, I'm always asking her if she would pick me up some Gaviscon. But I've got some new stuff
Yeah.
now, like this sort of aniseedy stuff. It's a winner. You should start asking for that on your rider.
Maybe I should. Maybe I should. Yeah. I just want all things that are going to stop me from having heartburn because you reach a certain age as a man and you can no longer eat pies.
Oh yeah, it almost makes you long for sort of slightly like a shorter life than a longer life. Uh, there's there's a slight lag on the video, and it's fine. We can persevere, but there's a slight lag on the video. So when you're talking, it's not quite syncing up with the movements of your lips, and it's making me think a bit of Noel's house party when they used to speak to people like, in the living rooms. It's like I feel like we're talking. I feel like we're talking 20 years ago. It's weird. 20 years ago.
Do you
Me and you,
want
me and you, we could eat all our pies. It'd be fine.
we could have done. I like to view life as like before before pies and after pies, BP and AP.
Absolutely.
Now I am now in after pies. Should I try and jump? Should I try and jump on a different Wi-Fi? There's a few venue Wi-Fi's here, and
No,
I'm on
we,
my phone one at
we,
the moment. So let's fix this because it could be a long chat.
no, honestly, we're cool, man. I feel like we've played uh, Zoom tennis for the last couple of weeks. I feel like we should just stick with what we got. We're fine. We're all good. We're all good. Although you,
I don't like it because I say things and then there's a massive gap, and it makes me feel like I'm not charismatic or funny.
yeah,
So
actually,
I want to,
in
I want to swap it. So give me 2 minutes and I'll fix it.
yeah, in fairness, there's words, but you look a bit like you've had a stroke or something. So yeah, let's let's redo this. Do you want to log out and log back in?
Right. Is this any better?
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Right, that's just my phone. That
Uh,
we'll rock with this.
no, it's good. In the meantime, it's a good job you came back actually, because I was finding myself getting wound up by a tweet I just saw retweeted into my timeline, and there are always tricky moments when I fight the urge to get into a Twitter spat that will last a week.
Do
So
it. Let's do a spat. What we're spatting
no,
about?
mate,
Come on, we'll
no,
plan it
mate,
together.
no, mate, no. Well, no, I can't. No, there was someone moaning on Twitter about kids crying on planes. No one likes kids crying on planes. I mean, who likes it, right? But it's
No,
a
but
thing.
you'd have to be a sadist if you enjoyed it.
Exactly. But kids cry on planes, and the alternative is throwing them out of the plane, and that's not good. So, put your headphones on and crack on. But there was someone saying that the reason why it's unacceptable for kids to cry on planes is because they're neurodivergent. So I have OCD, which isn't really neurodivergence, but it's a mental illness, and it makes a lot of things in my life quite difficult. And I really don't like the idea of this normal behaviour of something that happens is something I can't handle because of how I am wired. I just don't really think the world works like that.
No, it doesn't. I've got ADHD and sometimes get like mad like sensory overload, but I know that that's on me and that I need to deal with it in my way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I sort of feel a bit like, there are things that we can bend to. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we're not talking about neurodivergence here, but obviously we should make venues accessible for people who struggle to get into them, and we should, I always try and put the captions on videos I do and stuff, so people who, are hard of hearing and stuff. All those things are really important, like making a less ableist society. But babies crying on planes, man. What about the baby's rights? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, it's quite traumatic, isn't it, to do flat. I think if it wasn't so socially unacceptable, I'd probably be crying on a plane. It's scary, man.
Well, yeah. I did have a lot of that when I was younger, and then I got over it. So it's a bit like when people say how scary planes are, I'm like, yeah, I've been there, but I worked through it. Why do you get scared on planes? Just the idea that you're gonna die in a fiery ball of.
Generally, yeah. Anything where there's a risk of dying in a fiery ball of is quite a scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't really want to die.
Have you ever seen that movie Final Destination?
Yeah, but a long time ago.
Yeah, me and my wife sometimes we just watch the intro sequences. Sometimes on a Friday night, it's a bit like, what do you want to watch? And I'm like, I sort of want to watch like a motorway pile up, or I want to watch like a roller coaster gone wrong. But my favourite is the plane one when everyone's getting sucked out the back, and sometimes I think about that when I'm at Gatwick. But crack on. Yeah,
you just have to bury those thoughts and just move forward, don't you?
That's just life, man. Just bury the pain.
Or write songs about them like I do.
Exactly.
And then you'll end up in a van in Middlesbrough. And that's where it'll take you.
The dream, man. That song "Worry" is could almost be an OCD anthem. Actually, when I was listening to it, I was like, "Oh, this is a bit like if I was a wrestler and I was like OCD man, that would be like my entry theme or something."
What would OCD man's like final move be? Would it be like light switch 33 times?
Exactly. I would like sort of do like a sort of I like sort of drop the elbow, but I'd have to do it like 3 times.
Yeah, so and then tidy up.
It's fine. We can laugh about it. I have OCD. Tom has ADHD. We can laugh about this shit. It's fine.
We're not poking fun at anybody at all.
Exactly. We're reclaiming it. What venue are you at in Middlesbrough?
The Empire, which is a beautiful venue, actually.
Yeah, that's so I used to be in a band, and I used to live way up north. I used to live in Sunderland, so we played at the Empire a bunch of times. And I remember the gigs being quite good actually. But one memory I do have was when I had air. I remember sitting outside and having a cigarette before we were about to play, and some. I'm a working class guy, so I don't like to sort of be sniffy, and I don't use the word chav disparagingly. Some people aren't. There's socio-economic factors and such like. That's my throat clearing. But this lad came along and he just pulled my hair. And I remember just being like, who pulls a stranger's hair? Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's quite ballsy, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Can you imagine having the confidence to just pull a stranger's hair?
You know what I mean? And also it brought me right back down to earth, because the promoter was being all like, "Oh, your band's, I love your band, I love the last record and all this sort of stuff." And then, some little scrote pulling my hair brought me right back to earth.
Maybe I need that sometimes. Maybe we all need to have our hair pulled once in a while, just to ground us.
Yeah, I just call that my 20s, really. So it's really nice to speak to you. Finally, as I said, we've been batting back and forth. I've been hammering the EP, but I'm quite fascinated by your band because I feel like I have a theory. This is my theory on your band.
Excellent.
Tell me if I'm far off. I feel like you started a fair time ago, and I feel like it didn't quite go how you wanted it to. So you went away and plotted, and then there was a glorious rebirth. I feel like that's kind of more or less where we're at now, because it feels like what you've done with like the hookups and the collaborations and also actually just the quality of the songwriting suggests that there's been a period of time of really studying what you want to do now. Is that because like I say, it's quite weird to me to speak to someone who's in a band who has, that band has been in existence for a period of time, but it's only really been in the last kind of year or so where I've been like, I keep hearing that name,
I'm glad you are hearing the name. Yeah, I think that's a fair theory. I'm not sure we ever went away. I think it was a lot of like a learning period. Like I truly believe to be like really good at something, you do have to, they say you've got to do 10,000 hours, don't they? And
yeah,
I think we've done a lot more than that. And we did it, we've kind of played like every kind of gig you can imagine, from like, we started off in pubs in Lee near Wigan, and you can imagine what the pubs in Lee near Wigan are like. Like it was, the rough, and you've got like some guy set telling you to play Wonderwall, and if you don't, then he's going to batter you. And so you play Wonderwall, and you kind of like have to learn. You learn a lot from that, and we've done the pub scene, we've done weddings, we've done the whole thing, but there's always been writing songs. Like we've always been an original band, and we've always like made sure that we've kept with it, and we had some like we got signed to a major record label by Seymour Stein, who unfortunately recently died, and he really believed in us. We were the last band that he signed, and they were kind of like turfing Seymour out because he was kind of old. And that left us in this weird position where nobody else at the label really believed in it. And so we'd made our first record at that point.
So this is like 10 years ago.
No, this is probably like 6 years ago. So I'd say like for the first kind of 4 years, we're a kid band. We were loving it. We were working hard. We've always worked hard. But we were a kid band. We're writing good songs, mate. I've never written a bad one. I've tried. It's dead hard for me. If I sit down and try and write a bad song, it just doesn't work.
Right.
They're all excellent.
Okay.
So we've always had something, and I've always thoroughly believed in it.
If you had hair, I would pull it right now.
You can pull my tiny beard.
Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. And so we kind of had like, it was a struggle, man. Like, I'd never say that we stopped, but there was definitely a point after the Warner thing kind of fell through, and we had this record where it was getting to be more unenjoyable than enjoyable at times, because it was so much pressure, and it was just, I never ever considered quitting, but it was getting to the point where we were thinking like, what are we going to do? Right. And so we were lucky we didn't stop, and we did go away, and there was a very real conversation with our manager Tristan, and who's also our producer and best friend, and where we sat down and we decided exactly what we wanted to do and how we were going to do it, and we drew it all out, and it kind of fucking worked. Like everything that we said would happen has.
Right.
And I'm not saying that we're geniuses, but I think we might be geniuses, because I think that the whole music industry is a little outdated, and the way that a lot of things are done seems kind of backwards to me. So we stopped trying to follow that road and those guidelines,
Yeah.
and just started doing what we thought was right, and just started doing, just going at, yeah, doing what we thought was going to help. And if people were saying no, then we would just do it anyway. And then it'd work. And then everyone would say how great we were. And then we'd have the next idea, and people would say, no, we can't do that. And then we'd do it anyway.
Right.
And then they'd say how great we were.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like, that seems to be the recurring theme going forward.
I mean, I do feel like, you know, someone who's been around this for a fair amount of time now, I do feel like more than ever at this juncture, like the rules are kind of, I mean, maybe they always, I was just going to say the rules are there to be broken, and maybe they always were, really, but what I mean more than that is it feels like we're at a point where, like, the accepted way of doing things, like, it's just not working. Like, no one knows what the fuck they're doing anymore. Like,
Yeah.
no one really knows how to make, you know, money on bands of a particular level. Like, there isn't really a music press anymore. You know, it's really hard for whatever this means, but guitar bands to kind of get the breaks in certain places. You know, it is definitely a time to be like, let's. You know, I also think as well, like, there's so little money in music now. I'm like, why would you do something you don't want to do? Like, why would you not? Why would you not be like, well, this is my art, I'm going to make it where I want it to be?
Yeah, exactly. I think once you kind of, I want to be careful what I say, because I do want the support of the gatekeepers or whatever. But when you, like, if you discount radio and you discount press and you discount fucking Spotify playlists and everything that matters, then, and just take it back down to fundamentally what it is, which is you and your band and a human experience of somebody listening to that band, and make it as pure as you can. And then we thought, well, how do we get out to people? And it's like, well, we'll do support shows, but we'll do it with bands that we like, because we want people to, you know, people who like the bands that we like to like us, because we like those bands. It makes sense. So we, you know, we reached out and managed to get on some great tours that really helped us. Like Miles Hunt from the Wonder Stuff gave us our first ever tour, and that was massive for the band, because we didn't know what we were doing. We were just like idiots, really, and put on this tour, our first real tour, and we played in front of loads of people every night, and they stuck. And then next time we did our own little tour, it was like 100 caps, but they all came to it, and we thought, well, this is it. So then we did it again with Sleeper and Shed 7 and, you know, loads of other bands that we've been lucky enough to do it with.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, that was always going to be our format. We know that we can connect to people live. We're not going to put a load of money into adverts and press, because what better advert is there than 30 minutes in the same room as someone playing your music, making that connection, and it just seems to work. And so we put years of doing support tours, you know, for very little money, because that's just the way it works. So we've been grafting for all this time, doing the supports, building up the fans, and now our gigs are full, and, you know, like, we're selling out, and we've got a very real chance of getting a #1 album on this campaign, which I think is absolutely bananas. You know, like what on earth is going on? But mate, we don't stop working. Like, I think there's some kind of misconception that maybe there's some kind of team around us, or something. Like, yes, there is a label, and we have an agent and stuff like that, but fundamentally, it's the four of us and a very small team. You know, my mate Cole, my mate Andy. On this tour for the first time, we've got like a photographer who's helping with social media. That is it. And we're all grafting constantly.
When you name those bands, if you were a tree and I was a lumberjack and chopped you down, I would be able to I wouldn't have to count the rings. I would know how old you were by those bands that you said.
Yeah.
Is that well, I don't know. I mean, they're bands I grew up with. Is that, I mean, are you a bit of an old Britpopper?
Yeah, that's the bands that I love. And also, we kind of was never interested in being some like faddy band that teenagers listen to.
Yeah.
It's great that some do. I love that. Everyone's welcome at our shows. I love it when there's young people in bouncing around, but that was never what we were aiming for. I wanted people that who were from a generation where music was less disposable and where music was more important, because now it kind of is disposable.
Yeah.
You know, you get TikTok music and
Yeah.
then it's a hit for a week and then it's nothing. But
Yeah.
like it was never the case for me. Music was the most important thing. So I wanted people to like my band who found music to be the most important thing. And I think that is what that's happened.
It's weird, actually. I was listening to Burning House today, and I was thinking that could be a TikTok hit.
You know what? I thought that as well, but I've got no idea how to make it one.
It's just,
Do you?
it's just that hook, man. That hook, I can't get it out of my head. I think it's weird though. I mean, so I'm going to date myself. I'm 42, and I guess I get a bit. Not that in any way it stops me from playing my part in things, but I get a bit disheartened sometimes that music is, for a lot of people, it's just another thing, right? There's a lot of stuff, like, and that's fine. And I think maybe it was always dust to a degree, but I find a bit, and I don't want to sort of say proper bands or authentic music. I hate all that stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't like looking at music like that, but I do feel like like, I used to work at the NME. I was at the NME for years, and there was a period at the end of being at the NME where I remember thinking, if you're kids from Rotherham or Scunthorpe and you're in a garage and you're playing guitars and you like indie music, or Lee, then I don't really know who's gonna champion you right now, because it certainly wasn't where I was working,
Yeah.
And I don't know how much that's changed, although right now I do feel like there is a clutch of bands who are making music that feels very familiar to me from a particular point in my life. It feels like there are like younger people who are making this kind of music, who are really trying to make something happen, but I still don't really know where they would go, if that makes sense, because you don't really hear it on Radio 1, you don't really...
No, but I think, like, I'm really good friends with the band The Ratings.
Right.
And they just recently got a number one.
Where are they from?
They're from Sheffield.
See, I was talking to someone the other day, and they said they were from Doncaster, and I'm from Doncaster.
It might well be Doncaster. They're probably going to be offended that I didn't know that, because it's all they talk about. But it's one of those small. It's one of those Yorkshire towns.
One of those Yorkshire towns. I feel like I'm poised on, like if they're from Sheffield, whatever. If they're from Doncaster, I think I might start getting excited about them. So
I think they are from Doncaster.
Right.
I think they are. They're doing Sheffield Arena, which is why I thought it was Sheffield. But
I mean, that's wild, isn't it? That's wild. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So what? They just recently got a number one record, and then no press or radio were playing them before that. But then they managed to pull out this massive thing without even the gatekeepers' help.
Yeah.
And they did it, and they achieved it through real people that they've really played in front of, that really bought the records, and then all of a sudden, now they're on the radio. Now they're in the press.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's the only way for the kids in Scunthorpe in a garage now to get the attention of those people is by achieving incredible things without their help. And bands like the Ratings are proof that it's possible. And so we're in this this chat battle, I suppose. Like, I know that we've got a very good chance of getting the number one record, and it's not an easy week. It's a difficult week. We're up against the National, and they've got Taylor Swift and Phoebe Bridgers on their album.
Yeah.
And we're up against Freya Ridings, who's obviously a big star. She had the Love Island hit or something, I don't really know. Went to Brit school. Her millionaire dad. Like, I know it's not going to be easy, right. For the working class kids to be up against that, but I'm ready for the fight, because it feels like, I feel like if we can achieve this, then it kind of is a bit of a middle finger to to the industry that ignored us for so long, because we didn't need your help actually. Like, look at that, we'd just be Taylor Swift's on that record, and we sold more than that. And Freya Ridings has got all the backing in the world, and we ain't, and we've done better. I'm talking retro. No, hopefully, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm thinking on my YouTube channel of venturing into shorts, those little clips, and I feel a bit like if your record doesn't chart, if it just kind of like doesn't even get in the top 100, I might just clip that, and that'll.
Yeah, I think you should. That would be pulling my hair.
Yeah, no, I'm rooting for you. I mean, my wife's favourite band are the National, so I mean, she's probably going to end up buying like 20 copies or something. But
right. Well, can you ask her to do it after the week of release?
I might actually ask if she would just buy 19. She manages bands herself. She works in the industry, and one of the bands that she manages, my mum, wanting to be supportive to her daughter-in-law, she bought a copy, like a digital copy of the last release of the band that she manages, and I went home a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, "Oh, I don't have any memory on my computer. Can you have a look?" And then it had transpired that she'd bought like 50 copies. Oh. It was just the computer was.
That's chart fixing. I'm grassing.
Well, this is it. halfway through the anecdote, I was a bit like, "Nah, I probably shouldn't say which band it was," but anyway. So your guests, did you? Well, I guess it's twofold, really. Your guests, how did you? There's some impressive names. How did you like fix those? Like, how did you sort of like get to those people? But also, was there a bit of a wish list?
Yeah, there was. There was part of the plan was like, I don't understand. Like in hip hop, this collaborative thing is everywhere, and it doesn't really factor into like indie music. Yeah. And I didn't get that, because why wouldn't you? Right. Like, there's some great artists that I would love the opportunity to work with, and that like, let's be real, it's a big stepping stone for us. Like, if we're listed with these huge musical icons, then that kind of brings us up a rung in the ladder, a ring, a step in the ladder. Rung. Was I right? It felt wrong when I said it. Yeah, it felt wrong.
It's definitely wrong. What a wrong'un. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so like, there was a list. We wrote a list of people that we wanted, and also because I'd been writing songs with people in mind. So I wrote Money, which Sean Ryder was on, very much with Sean's voice in mind, and I wrote Let Me Down with Boy George in mind, and Bad Things with Louise Wenner Sleeper in mind, and it just worked. I don't know, I think the songs are good, and somehow we got them listened to, and once they were listened to, everybody said yes, and that really felt it felt like it justified my songwriting and made me feel more confident about it. Yeah. Because if you write a song, you send it to Boy George, and he rings you up and tells you how much he likes it, and says, "Come on, let's get in the studio and do it," then it must mean that you know something. And it really, it was a wild experience. I've had so many wild days recently where I'm just like, my life is mad. Like, I literally drive in a Luton van on a music video shoot, skidding past Sean Ryder out of the Happy Mondays, past the house where Tommy Shelby lives on Peaky Blinders. I was just like, what is this? Is a lot different to the pubs in Lee, and it feels like, it's romantic in a way.
You don't strike me as a dude that is short of confidence. How much of that is front?
I don't know who that guy is on stage every night who looks like me and does it. I don't know him. And I thank God that he turns up every night, because I am quite an anxious, shy person. Yeah. Generally, all of the time. Yeah. But as soon as I get on stage, it just goes. And yeah, I'm grateful I'm grateful that he always turns up, and I hope he never like goes on holiday and leaves me to handle it, because I think I'd just freak out, man.
Right.
But I genuinely love it. Genuinely love playing music and being on stage, and whatever mode that I go into, I think it's cause, right, this is probably too deep, and like it's like a therapy session or something, but because schools weren't very good at dealing with people like me when I was growing up. Like schools in the 90s and the early 2000s weren't very good at people who don't fit into the mold of like education.
Yeah.
Which I think is a lot of kids actually.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So I'm writing.
So
I'm writing a book at the moment, which is about my experiences as a music journalist, but with through the filter of having OCD, and I'm trying to sort of get through the school stuff so I can get to like the fun hanging out with rock stars stuff. But the school stuff is like, I mean, they didn't know what to do with me at all. No. Do you know what I mean? And you carry that stuff all your life as well, because it's
you really do. So I was like expelled from 2 schools, which left me feeling like really broken, or a bad person, or someone that doesn't fit in. And it, that was real, and I carried that with me for a long time. And I think I still took that little kid up on stage with me every night, and like when people are clapping and cheering and singing the words, it was for him, and just to be like, it's all right. Look, it worked. Like people like you now.
Yeah,
it's okay. And oh man, I wrote this song. It's pretentious, whatever. But I wrote this like letter to my 12-year-old self, which I think a lot of people are like connecting with, because I think it's maybe, I don't know if it's just the people that love music or what, but there seems to be like a common thread that people felt misunderstood when they were young. And this like letter that I wrote to myself, a lot of people are coming to me as if I was some kind of like, I don't know, Morrissey character that that are making people relate to now. And
well, John McClure.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
John McClure, the Rev's doing a thing, isn't he? Where he's like doing letters to.
Yeah, that's weird, because I've recently become very good friends with John.
Right.
And I talk to him all the time, and we have phone calls, and I love him. He's the greatest storyteller on this planet. He's so funny. But when we saw, because his album comes out on the same day as ours as well, and we were having a look on the track listing. Yeah, we'll be able to do some Lancashire, Yorkshire, Blur, Oasis thing. Like we'll make it work with good friends.
War of the Roses and all that. Yeah.
Exactly. There you go. It's written. Like, let's take it to the press. Like, it's all there for us. But when I looked through his track list and I saw he'd done a letter to his 21-year-old self, I was like, that's interesting. And there was a couple of other ones on there. A couple of his other song titles are the same as some of our song titles. Like I think he's got one called "I Don't Love You." He's got one called "Overthink," and we've got one called "Overthink Everything." And yeah, and I think that's great. And it was purely coincidental. And I saw his campaign around his letter to his 21-year-old self, and I think it's a great song that he's written. All the letters that people did, and I think John's a genius and a legend, and he is number one in my list of collaborations for the next record, and I've already written the song, and it's fantastic, and I just need to get him on it.
Which is all well and good, but I think we should conclude this by, if you were a wrestler, and I'm going to give you the name Intolerant to Pastry Man, would you what would be cut a promo that will persuade people to buy a record to get you to number one?
I think I'd probably do something quite emotional. Like they have X Factor, the sob stories.
Right, okay.
So I'd be like, all my life I've struggled. All my life has been hard. The only thing that kept me going at the end of the day was a Hollands pie. I would the pies of my grandfathers and my grandfathers before that, passed down through generations, pie to son, pie to son, pie to son, until one day it hit me like you wouldn't believe. Heartburn. And now I can't have pies anymore. And the only thing that would fill that pie-shaped hole inside of Pie Intolerance Man would be a #1 album. So let's make it happen.
I love that. I'm into that. I'm into that. So when should people go buy the record?
They should buy it now, but they shouldn't buy it after the 5th of May.
Yeah.
I don't care after that. Don't buy it. Just stream it or get it on Napster or whatever.
It's dead to you then. Listen, I'm gonna love you and leave you, but on the way between the van and the venue, make sure no one pulls your hair. And I hope you have a very good show tonight. And people
I think you got your hair pulled literally on that door, at that door there, because that's the stage door when you go out for a cigarette.
No. Oh God, this is I'm going right down memory lane here. That's the side of the venue, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I was around the front.
I can't smoke at the front. I'm far too famous for that.
There was. I'll tell you what. We did. I remember our bass player. I mean, you know what it's like being in a band when you got no money, and our bass player. We had none of us had any money, and our bass player got out one night, and we had no money, and we were all like, "Oh, it's going to be a really miserable drive back home," and no food in the fridge when we get back home and all that. And our bass player found a £50 note on the floor.
Wow!
And it was an amazing night.
You know what? Sometimes the universe just gives you these little gifts, doesn't it?
Right. Well, listen, I hope you have similar good fortune.
Thank you very much. It was great to chat to you, man.
And you, man. I'm sure we'll do it again. Speak to you soon. Bye, dude.
Peace.
Bye.